am Larissa Hansen, and I'm here representing the Chatham Chamber. And we're here tonight for the candidates forum. We've got candidates running for the library trustees, for the village trustees, and also for the school board. And I've already forgotten my mic because I said I didn't need it. So we're going to start with just quick introductions for the, is this on? Yes. Okay, good. Quick introductions for those who are running for the library. We'll start with Nela Kirk.
Actually, it's Nella.
Nella, I'm sorry.
It's all right. Hello, I'm Nella Kirk, and I am running for the board, for the trustee. I am currently in, and I'm the treasurer. I love what I do. Please vote for me because I want to do it more. Thank you.
And then we've got Christine Westerlund.
I'll use the microphone. Good evening, everybody. Christine Westerlund, Chatham Area Public Library District Board Trustee since 2001. Maybe there should be some term limits. I don't know. Happy that you're all here this evening, that you're using this space to host this great event. I appreciate the Chamber hosting this as well. And I want to put a plug in. Leslie Ross is not here this evening. She is a write-in candidate. So if you vote, when you vote, please write in Leslie Ross for Library Board Trustee for the Chatham Library District. And Larissa, we have one more in the back.
One more trustee.
Dan
Dan. Why are you back there? You got a name tag.
I want to see
and
if I
everything.
trace it.
This is Dan Holden. He's also up for election. So the other unopposed candidate that we have is Dr. Duaraj. Most people call him Srini. And he is not here. He is running unopposed for his district for the school board. So for the rest of the candidates, what we're going to do is do a quick introduction. I do want to remind everybody that this is your forum. The questions that we asked tonight are questions that were submitted by the audience. So if you haven't already and you have questions that are burning in your mind, please feel free to fill out a card. If when the candidates start to talk, you think of something that occurred to you, feel free to jump up, run over there, and drop a card in. I'll be picking those up periodically. So we'll probably start, even though we'll start down here since I'm standing here. We'll start, I already threw him off. We'll start right here with Duane Sieren, and you'll have 2 minutes to introduce yourself. Also, Shelly is our timer in the back, and she'll stand up and flap when you get close to your time.
I'm not sure what flap means, but maybe jumping jacks or something will get my attention. My name's Duane Sieren. I grew up on a family farm in Iowa. We raised corn, soybeans, cattle, and a lot of hogs. So I've carried a lot of 5-gallon buckets and scooped a lot of gradu. So I went to Iowa State, got a degree in ag business, and moved to Illinois in 1995 to Chatham. I've been here since 1995. I run an Edward Jones financial advisor office in Piper Glen Plaza. I just moved to there to open my new office. I have a daughter that's a senior here and a son who is in 8th grade. Why did I run for the board? The first time it was at the request of friends and community members because I had gotten involved in the Bob Gillum fiasco. We try not to say that name around here, but you know what was going on then. He was basically running the place into the ditch. Now, why do I want to run again? I guess because I feel like I know what's going on for the most part. There's just a lot of moving parts in a district this size. 70% of your tax dollars go to the school. It's a $50 million budget, and I figure I've got the experience. I just as well do it if you'll have me do it. I hope it becomes clear tonight that what you see is what you get with me. I'm a farm boy. We don't make stuff up. We do what needs to be done, and we don't brag about it. So no hidden agendas. I don't pander to get votes. I just have a passion to be the best, and I'm going to do it honestly. So that's me, Duane Sieren.
Hi, good evening. My name is Patrick Phipps, and I'm running for school board. I'm a married father of 2. I have a 7th grader at Glenwood Middle School, and I have a 5-year-old daughter who will be going into kindergarten next year at Chatham Elementary. My family moved here about a decade ago into the Chatham School District. We lived here in the Springfield area about 18 years. And we moved here specifically for the Chatham schools. And so that's the primary driver for me running for school board. I just want to make sure that we maintain our education excellence here in the district. I grew up in the Metro East area. My dad was a Vietnam vet. My mom was a paraprofessional in the local school district for 20 some odd years. I graduated from Roxana High School in 1993, and I got a bachelor's in economics from Illinois College in Jacksonville, Illinois, and then a master's in economics from the University of Illinois. Over the past 22 years, I've worked in the regulatory industry, essentially, as a policy advisor, a rate analyst, a consultant, and a compliance officer. I think that experience has prepared me well to serve on the board. I have experience with informed and fair decision making, sound public policy principles, compliance with laws and regulations, budgeting, negotiations, and consensus building, which I think all of those things will serve me well on the board. I'm running for school board because it has a direct impact on 2 things that are very important to me: education excellence and responsible use of our fiscal resources. My family's committed to the Chatham community. I have a 5-year-old, so we're going to be here for a while. And so I have a vested interest for the next couple of decades. And I want to leave a mark and really maintain the education excellence that we have. I understand that we need to support our students and teachers in order to achieve our educational goals. And I appreciate your vote on April 2nd. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Gary Harrison, and I work for the Illinois Education Association for the last 30-some years, and as a representative of the teachers in Springfield as well as in Chatham, I've been involved in the schools on a daily basis for the last 17 years. The reason why I'm running is I've got a concern about the attitude and what's happening within the classrooms. There is an ongoing kind of a dilemma about being supported at the student, or being supported at the district level. One of the things that you have a student who goes to Glenwood Elementary, they have had about 10 minutes of lack of time, instructional time, each year for the last 4 years. While it's been brought to the attention of the superintendent, there hadn't been anything done about it. And as a result of that, we also have the problem getting substitutes to go to GES. There are a number of issues that happen over there on a daily basis. And so because of that and the frustration of it and the feedback that I'm getting from the teachers about why they're not staying here is the reason why I'm here tonight. I just want to make certain that we have good teachers in the district and that they stay here. Thanks.
Thanks everyone for coming. My name is Steve Bryant. I'm running for school board. I was a North Ender from Springfield. I went to Lanphier long years ago. I moved to Chatham because of the schools in '91. I have a 30-year-old son that graduated from Glenwood High School in '06. The school was excellent. That's why I moved to the area. I currently have a 6th grader at Glenwood Intermediate School. I'm married to Kimberly. I plan on being here for a while. I retired from the Department of Corrections as a parole commander for the sex offender unit. I'm currently the executive director for Liberty Healthcare for the sexually violent program. Also the vice president of SOCPIN, which is the sex offender civil commitment program. I run the budget for the entire program. I oversee all the sexually violent persons that have been released that are civilly committed into the community. My staff statewide monitors and supervise them. During my careers in corrections, I was able to work on both sides of the union. I was a union president for 9 years. I was in management for 11 of those years, or for 11 years after that. So I worked on 3 different contracts with the state. They're very time consuming and they are very cumbersome. And I know this board went through a lot with this last contract. I can only imagine what they went through. I'm running for school board because I'm a parent of the district and a citizen of the community. I believe I can make a difference for our students and educators. I've listened to teachers, I've listened to the educators in our district. I've also talked to other districts. Chicago is having the same problem we have. Some of the suburbs, they're having a problem getting certified teachers, substitutes to fill in. The class sizes are a huge concern. When I went to school, we had 30 to 40 kids in our class. You can't learn at that level. So we need to make sure that we keep our teachers and our substitutes and remain the excellent school district that I've always known that we have. Also, the safety and concern of our students is another thing. You know, the school buses and riding the buses, there's always incidents on the buses. That seems to be the biggest issue. My philosophy of education is all children of any age must have the opportunity of stimulating education and environment where they have atmosphere where students can meet their full potential, and that's what we want. Thank you very much, and I hope you vote.
Good evening. My name is Kyle Berry, and I'm running for school board as well. Thank you to the Chamber and the library for hosting this important event tonight. I'm a father of 4 kids. We live in Piper Glen. I've been married for going on 19 years now. My kids are in 3 different schools in the district, GHS, GMS, and GIS. My day job is I'm a lawyer, and I do economic development and energy work. I've represented companies that have invested millions of dollars in the state, and that's something I'm pretty proud of. I help facilitate the growth and build up of tax base in areas around the state where these companies invest in their facilities and build new projects. I'm a former Piper Glen Homeowners Association board member. My grandpa was a farmer, and I'm very proud to say that I've been able to help retain the family farm, and I help manage it. I'm running for school board primarily because I've got 4 kids in the district, so I have a strong vested interest. But I also want to serve as an independent voice on the board. You know, as a taxpayer, I haven't seen a lot of interaction between myself and the board. There's a lot of interaction with my kids and the school and teachers and administrators, but I find the school board to be a bit of a mystery because there's not a lot of information that comes out, again, unless you really search for it. And I want to do a better job of communicating with the taxpayers and the community, as well as the teachers. We saw through this last contract negotiation that a negative relationship, I would say, developed between the board and the teachers, and I want to do better with that. And so, you know, I ask for your voice and hope to be able to serve as more of an independent voice. Excuse me, ask for your vote. I hope to be able to serve as more of an independent voice on the board. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm Matthew Mao. I grew up on a farm here in Chatham. Family's lived here for about 120 years. And you know, I learned a lot growing up on the farm. Hard work, determination, and you know, setting goals to get where you want to be. And you know, I got off the farm. I went to Lincoln Land and SIUE Edwardsville. I was a Boy Scout here in Chatham. And so I was one of those kids who was selling popcorn door to door and with Rolo's kids back there. So. But out of college, I studied political science and history, and I said, you know what, I want to take this political science and I want to do something with it. So I ran for office in 2007 for trustee. I came up a little short. In 2009, I decided, you know, we're going to run again. We won this time. You know, and what I did in 2009 and what I continue to do today as a trustee and will continue to do if I'm reelected is to push for openness and transparency. I think in communication. I think those lines, making sure they're open and we communicate to the people of our community is so important, because that way the question doesn't have to be asked, are we trying to hide something, are we? And that's so important to people, making sure they know, and especially making sure we know as a board what's going on, and we're not being kept in the dark, whether it be from us or the water commission or anything else, just making sure we're all on the same board, knowing what's going on. And I'm one that holds people accountable, so if something bad goes wrong or something, somebody does something wrong, I want to make sure that it doesn't happen again. I want to hold them accountable, hold the feet to the fire, and make sure it doesn't happen, and make sure our community has leaders that does that. That's so very important, and making sure we have good people working, making sure they do what's right for our community. And if I'm reelected, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to work hard for the people of our community of Chatham. So, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Definitely want to thank the Chamber for hosting this and the library for having a place to host it. I definitely want to thank the audience and the residents of Chatham for allowing us to come up here and kind of give you our points on different things. I was basically appointed to the board 3 years ago, and then 2 years ago I had to run to fill the remaining 2 years of the slot that I was appointed to. At that time, one of the things that I pushed for was we needed to rate this quality or condition of our streets, coming from IDOT with 30 years of experience as a professional engineer, 17 years of that working in local roads, working with municipalities, counties, and townships on planning their projects, helping them find funding. And I knew there was definitely a need for improving our streets. We ended up having our engineers, CM&T, do a study, and they basically came back and said, yeah, you just need $28 million to get your roads where they need to be. So since then, I know I have worked pushing for various things to improve our roads, to help minimize that cost, to prolong the pavement. I've also worked with our CM&T, it's a little bit easier, engineer to engineer sometimes, and have come up with ideas for them to hopefully find a way to extend the life of our streets, because we don't have $28 million, let alone $2.8 million a year if we tried to do it in 10 years. So we have to find other solutions for that. Also, I'm proud to call Chatham home for the past 26 years. I've also served on the Planning Commission for a good 15 plus years prior to being appointed. So hopefully I'll get your vote April 2nd. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dewey Detmers. I am a Chatham resident of 12 years, father of 4. Very proud of that. Thank you first to the library for hosting, Ms. Hanson for being our moderator, Chamber of Commerce for organizing this event. Thank you very much. I'm very active in the community, and that's one of the reasons why I ran for the board originally. I'm a proud member of the Chatham JCs. I was a former president of the JCs. I was on the Planning Commission, the Public Properties Commission. I'm a den leader in the Cub Scouts. I volunteer soccer coaching, and I'm just very active and invested in this community. I've got a number of beautiful friends and family here and out there supporting me, and I wish to serve them well. I'm currently the Director of Revenue Assurance at Windstream, which is a telecommunications company. I am a very strong analytical background. That's my foundation. I have undergrad from Illinois College and a master's degree from UIS. Again, my name is Dewey Detmers. I appreciate your vote on April 2nd.
Good evening. Can you hear me? I wanted to thank the Chatham Area Chamber of Commerce for hosting, and thank you all for attending. I am Kristen Chiaro, and I am proud to call Chatham my home. Like many of you, I have chosen to raise my family here, and I believe that my professional and educational experiences will benefit the people of Chatham. my family, I'm invested in my family business, gave some improvements, and I have more than 11 years of governmental experience. I am running because I believe Chatham is a wonderful place to live, but we can do better. We face some challenges, but I believe those challenges can be overcome through innovative thinking and a fresh perspective. And in that, we can open a door to a brighter and better future. So I thank you all again and would greatly appreciate your support on April 2nd.
So the first question is really for the village. There were actually, the reason I picked it as the first question is there were 3 different versions of this question. So essentially the question is, what have you contributed to the Village of Chatham? What is your experience volunteering in the village, and how have you helped the community in the past? And we're going to go ahead and start here with Kristen and then go down to Matt.
My contributions to the village are in my daily life. I volunteer with the schools. I'm very active in the schools, and I'm becoming more and more active in my community. I believe that civic involvement is crucial to the survival of our democracy. And I plan to become more and more involved in all of our issues in our community. Beyond our events, I believe we can all play a role in making our village better. So I plan to be involved in everything. And I'm going to the fish fry on Friday as well. I'm supporting all of you in everything.
Thank you. Again, as I mentioned in my opening statement, I'm very active in Chatham. I was the Chatham JC president. I'm also been the secretary as well as the vice president of membership. Beyond the JCs, I'm a member of the Public Properties Commission, which helps to ensure that the public properties of Chatham receive the attention that the residents deserve and request of it. I was on the Village Planning Commission as well. I was appointed to that. I'm on the board of directors of the Chamber of Commerce. I'm very active in the community as far as business land front is concerned. As I mentioned, I'm a Cub Scout leader of 8 and 9-year-old boys, so that keeps me very excited, very busy, and that's an exciting time. I volunteer coach for the Chatham Soccer Association. That starts up again soon. And all in all, I'm just out and about, and every chance I get. That's really how this all came to be. I'm not much of a politician or a public speaker, as you can see, but I was asked by many friends, hey, get more involved, and the next step is to be a trustee. So I was asked to throw my name in the hat, and here I am.
As I mentioned, I've had the privilege, and I'm very proud to call Chatham my home for the past 26 years. Of course, I served with the Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, serving as a Scoutmaster for a couple of years. I've also been involved in our homeowners association early on when things were first getting started. Then I moved on a little more than 15 years or so, or about 15 years before being appointed to the village, serving on the Planning Commission. I felt my expertise with IDOT, having a good understanding as far as access to our public roads, the amount of traffic, so forth, would serve me well, which I believe it has, along with serving the Planning Commission well. And then I know a little more than 3 years ago, before I was even appointed, I had gotten a call from Pat saying, hey, I've got some money sitting here for about $300,000 in the TIF district. We need to find a way to spend it. Can you help me out? So I came out on my own time, taking time off from work, and came up with some different ideas. One of them was putting in sidewalks from the square up to the elementary school, and then also a lot of the new sidewalks over on the other side of the tracks. They're around RP Lumber. And then it was shortly thereafter that there was a vacancy. I then went and talked to the individuals about being appointed to that position. I was appointed. I know there has been many of different times that I have taken time off from work to come in and discuss different issues or to take a look at various items. So I do believe being a volunteer for the village and serving the community is very important.
From a young age, I've been very involved in our community, whether it was as a Boy Scout, doing projects like moving the old library to this new location and planting trees and bushes here at this current location, or working on the square doing various projects, spreading wood chips, and we put a big stone there for the Eagle Scout project. It was a big Veterans Memorial, big granite rock with a plaque on it. I'm also a Mason and a Shriner. You know, and as a Mason and Shriner, we do have our hospitals all across the country for kids, and you know, if the kids' families can't pay for their services, and we cover those costs so the kids can come to our hospitals and not have to worry about the cost to get healed, and you know, to see the smile on a kid's face because he can smile again, you know, is really something else. And you know, here in the community, as far as that goes, we always have our funnel cake stand at the homecoming and the JC Sweet Corn Festival, and we always have a big line, and it's great to see everybody supporting them, and in turn they're supporting the children's hospitals and other things that the Masons and Shriners don't do. So that's really great for our community.
But it is slightly different. The question is, describe your past involvement as a volunteer with the Chatham schools.
So I guess my volunteer work in connection with the schools, I'll start by saying that I have been a sponsor of the GHS soccer team for the last 2 years. My son is a sophomore, and so I spend a lot of time going to soccer games and certainly enjoy that. Recently, part of the process of running for the school board is you get to meet a lot of people. And one of the most rewarding experiences I had recently was I accepted the invitation of one of the teachers at Glenwood Elementary to come in and visit the classroom. They're doing some wonderful work for autistic kids. They have a fairly unique program that it's hosted at Glenwood Elementary, but it's for the entire district. And I mean, they do really important work. I was very happy to be able and privileged to be able to observe that, because not only do they, of course, benefit the kids who are autistic, but what I saw, and I've seen this in other settings as well, is that the kids in the regular classroom, they love it when the autistic kids come into the classroom and get to hang out with them. So it's interesting to see how everybody kind of benefits from that. I'm involved with soccer, with my son is on the Scholastic Bowl team, so we help out with that, again, just generally supportive of the events associated with the school.
As I said before, I moved into the district in '91 when my son was 4. All the way through his school, I attended all of his sporting events that he was in. He was on the high school baseball team, the junior high team. I also went to all the class functions, the different parties. I was one of the oddballs because I was one of the dads, and a lot of the moms are the ones that attend and help with those parties. I enjoyed every minute of it. I have a daughter that is now in 6th grade. She's the president of the student council. So we're pretty involved with her school. She also was in the band. My son was in the band. I've attended all the functions for her, different art shows, take them out on school functions. When they go on their field trips, I always try to volunteer for all that stuff. So my involvement is basically with the classrooms that my daughter and my son have been in. I hope to be more involved if I get voted on the school board. Thank you.
My involvement has been more so as a paid employee for the IEA, and as such, I was in buildings on quite a few occasions, and as that, I interacted with the employees. Seeing what it is that they go through and the lack of support that they've seen over the last couple of years has really been troubling to me, because I've been working with the BCEA since 2001, and they filed more grievances in the last 2 years than they had in the previous 14. So there's been a change of an attitude really over on Mulberry Street. And, you know, as they feel like me, I hope to change that. Thanks.
So as I mentioned before, my son is a 7th grader, but when he was starting about 4 or 5 years old, he's experimented with about every sport there is. And so over the years, I've been a volunteer coach for all of his teams, baseball, soccer, and the good thing about doing that is that you meet a lot of great people that you wouldn't otherwise meet if you weren't doing that. And you meet a lot of great kids, and it gives you the opportunity to instill confidence, teamwork, those kinds of qualities, and just see kids grow in their confidence. And it's really a humbling experience. Now, the good thing about spreading your kids out by 8 years is that now I get to do it all over again with my daughter. So, so she's starting the Titan Soccer Academy. I've coached that twice now, and it's fun. It's all over again. Now, what I forgot is that those kids really focus on the after-practice treats. So I forgot that the first time, but I'm getting back into that whole 5-year-old mindset now. So my wife and I are band boosters. My wife was really involved in PTO when my son was in grade school. Me, not so much, though. Now that I've been running for school board, I've been going to PTO meetings to kind of educate myself about what they do, and it's amazing to me, honestly. I'm learning a lot, and they do great things. There's plenty of opportunities to volunteer and get involved, and I plan to do a lot more of that into the future. When my son was in grade school, we did a lot of volunteer work in the classrooms, reading to the. One of my favorite pictures actually is my son. When I read to his class, he thought that was the coolest thing in the world, and we still have that hanging on the fridge downstairs. So it's mostly been sports related, class related in grade school, and I look forward to doing it all over again once my daughter gets into grade school next year. Thank you.
So the obvious one is I've been on the school board, and for 4 years. 2 years before that, I had come to every school board meeting because of the issues we were having, and thankfully we got all that turned around. That's the short version of it. Being on the school board obviously brings along peripheral things, like we attend the opening day teachers breakfast, the final day teachers breakfast. We tour all the grounds and facilities. Because I'm on the finance committee as well as the facilities and grounds committee, and you can't make these decisions without going out and seeing the things. So, but I'm the type of guy that I don't pre-plan what I'm going to do typically. I mean, I have a general plan, but if somebody needs some help and I have the ability to help them, I'm going to help them. So what that looks like is I help coach basketball and baseball when the kids were younger. In about 4th grade, it got away from me, so I don't do that anymore. My wife actually helps with concession stands. She's been a big supporter of the Iron Chef, which supports the Education Foundation. So it's kind of a family thing. I have a lot of teacher friends, and they tell me what's really going on in the schools, Jerry. And like one of them one day came up to me and said, you're an ag guy, would you, and Steve Kopp is another guy that's on the board with me, would you mind coming into the middle school and teaching our kids for one day every year about agriculture? So Steve and I put together a slideshow, and it was fun. We taught 700 kids in a day about agriculture. So I feel like if you need me, I'm there. Yeah, that's about it. Thanks.
There was one question, and I kind of hesitated whether I was going to ask it or not, because it is kind of related to what you said, Duane. But the question was, how many meetings have you attended since you posted that you were going to run, or since you made the decision to run? So if it's okay, I'd just like to run down and ask the people who are running new how many meetings that they have been to since you said you were going to run.
So I guess the technically turn your paperwork in December. I was going to go to the December meeting, but just like everyone else in town, I had the flu. But since then, I've been to every meeting. So I don't know, how many is that, 3 or 4?
None. I've been to several hundred as part of my job, so I have not attended one here recently, for your question.
I've attended all of them since I decided to run for school board, except for one. I had work issues that I had to handle.
I've attended the last 2 months school board meetings. I couldn't make the January one because of a work conflict. I can also say that I've gone back and looked at the last 2 years of board meeting minutes and documents, and to kind of stay abreast of what's going on in the district.
You know, when I first decided to run, I said I am going to go to every single meeting, and I can proudly say, and I believe this table can vouch for me, that I've been to almost everyone, except for a couple, and one of them was my fundraiser. I really wanted to get to you guys, but I couldn't make it. And then the other one was I had to speak at a union meeting. So I have dedicated myself to this process, and I have learned so much by attending these meetings as well, and I think everybody needs to go, everybody needs to attend these meetings.
The next question is actually for both groups, and it is, what do you think is the #1 issue that you will need to address in the coming term, and how do you think that can be fixed and resolved? One of the people put 3 questions, and I thought 2 minutes, 3 issues, so you're lucky.
Which time did I have?
2 minutes.
2 minutes?
#1.
Well, the obvious one is classroom size. That seems to be coming from the parents, the teachers, the school board, everyone involved. Because when we went through the years when we were deficit spending to the tune of $7 million, there were some bad things that happened. Now, I wasn't on the board at that time, and I don't point fingers. We just needed to fix it. So we feel like we've gotten the finances under control. We're starting to move forward rapidly. We hired 6 additional teachers a year ago, and we've got 26 online for the next 5 years, the way the budget forecasts look. So that's an obvious one. I think probably the board has been, the current board and superintendent has been focused on fixing problems almost to a fault. Like, we haven't told the community what we're doing very well. So maybe communication would be something we could work on. There are always side issues. Like I heard the other day that a basketball coach told young boys that we're going to have practice in the girls' gym. Some of those things, I think we have an East gym and a West gym. I don't think we have a girls' gym and a boys' gym. So, you know, those are things that we probably, that's offensive to at least half the community, the women for darn sure, and it's offensive to me. In today's day and age, we would say things like that. So there are always a lot of peripheral issues, but we're staying dialed in on class size, STEM labs, curriculum, things like that, because that's what helps our kids, and that's what this is about, is the kids.
So at the last candidate forum, I rolled out a concept that I kind of came up with. It's called 3 T's for Titans. And the 3 T's are trust, transparency, and technology. And if I had to pick one of those, which is what the question asked me to do, I think that I would pick transparency as one of the biggest issues the board has to deal with. I think the reason I say that is because while I've been running, I've been kind of surprised at some of the level of divisiveness I've experienced, even kind of up here on the board, in terms of criticisms of different sides, and maybe some of that subsides now that the teacher's contract is finalized. But I think that there can be a lot of benefits from increasing transparency. As Duane said, even if people are more aware of what the board does and the achievements that they make, maybe that helps build the trust that maybe has taken a little bit of a hit lately. So transparency in every way, shape, or form. I mean, we want to, you may not agree with every vote I make on the board if I make it, but you're going to know why I made it, and you're going to know the rationale behind it. I think that's only fair. That's all I can ask of everyone who makes decisions that affect us. But transparency even in wages, I know that's been a big issue here. We can put that stuff right out for the public's consumption, and so that there's not a lot of rumors or hearsay going around that, we're better when we're working together as a team unified. I think we're more successful as a community and as a school system. And I think that transparency and building that trust back will go a long way to doing that. So I think transparency, trust as a 1B.
Certainly, one of the things that we're going to look at would be the superintendent's contract, because it will be coming up here shortly. And, as a result of that, we'll have to look at that and then see whether or not to go ahead and continue that. One of the things I can tell you is that in the time that I've been working with the Chatham local, we've had more grievances, like I said, filed within the last 2 years than in the previous 14 prior to that. So that's certainly a concern to me in terms of turnover with staff. This is the first group that I've had in a number of years that actually asked for whether or not to take a vote of no confidence. That didn't happen. I mean, it just doesn't happen on a regular basis. So it's, an anomaly to see that question asked of me here. And hopefully, we'll be able to address that. Thanks.
I'd like to address that I've listened to the teachers in the community, and one of the biggest opportunities for improvement is the retention of excellent substitute teachers and paraprofessionals. I understand that teachers don't have the resources to ensure that they can adequately teach the children to the high expectations of the Ball Chatham district. For example, when you have a teacher that calls in sick or takes a day off, there's no substitutes available. They'll pull a person from a different area, such as a librarian or reading resource teacher, and that takes away from special needs children that are used to their regular daily routines, and it directly affects how they learn. Not only does this cause disciplinary issues, but it directly affects the goals of the district and for a quality education. We need to focus on the class sizes, as others have said, and ensure that we keep the needs of each student in mind when we're making decisions that impact the learning abilities of each student. Not every student is the same. Everyone learns at a different rate. We need to make sure that we teach each of the children. We need to focus on the infrastructure, the class size, the salary of not only the teachers, but the district as a whole. Transportation in itself is another issue that's been brought up by teachers, parents, and administrators. In addition to retaining the quality bus drivers with a focus on student safety and training for everyone that's involved with our children, while they're in the care of the school district staff, whether it be at school or events. Thank you.
I think the biggest challenge that we're going to face here, are facing right now, is the perception of the reputation of the school district. I think we need to work hard to restore the district to its previous level of excellence. I was alarmed last year when I saw a ranking service rank Village of Chatham schools number 3 in the area. Again, that really surprised me because, you know, for the last 30 years, the Village of Chatham School District has been a destination for families, for students, and teachers. So I was concerned to see that, that some third party was viewing us as number 3. I want to help at least restore that reputation to number 1 again. I think we can do this by reducing class sizes, as was already mentioned. I think we can do it by working with teachers to prevent them from moving to other districts. And I think we can do it by more transparency, more communications. If I'm elected, I will continue to visit classrooms. I'll provide periodic updates, not about what's necessarily going on in the schools, but what's going on at the board level. And I'll look into hosting office hours. I don't know if that's possible yet, but I'll certainly have a strong desire to do that, so that if folks want to come in and talk to members of the board, they'll have an opportunity to do it and a place to do it. So again, I think that is a big challenge, and I want to work to return the school district to its number 1 status. And I think I can do that by being an independent voice and, frankly, a fresh set of eyes on the board with a fresh set of ideas.
Communities face many different challenges and issues, and I believe one of the biggest ones for Chatham moving down the road in the future is our infrastructure. Now I say that we have been working hard on that. We've been working hard on our roads and sidewalks, and Park Avenue had lots of upgrades, a lot of ADA upgrades on the sidewalks and curbs and gutters. But of course, as we all know, we only get so much money each year from the state, and there for a couple of years, the portion that we were getting back or getting to us was being cut year after year. And of course, we have our motor fuel tax. And the infrastructure, to me, is what holds a community together, kind of what helps us get around, whether it be walking, whether it be biking, whether it be driving. And, you know, with the pavement rating system we have, like Terry addressed earlier, you know, that's a great tool that's going to help us move forward and tackle some of those infrastructure issues. But, you know, we still do have a lot of different sidewalk issues, road issues, but as I said, we are working on those, and we'll continue to work on those as we get into the future.
So first of all, Matt, were you looking over at my notes? I put it down here. Yeah. Yes, basically I have to agree with Matt that infrastructure is going to be one of those items that we do have to seriously look at on how we are going to bring our roads, our streets, our sidewalks in place. Now, the other issue I'd like to hit real close that, you know, definitely has been a hot topic in the past, I believe we are moving forward and definitely in a positive direction, is the water. There are still people who are having issues with the water. Basically, we work with South Sangamon Water Commission, which is its own separate entity, but we do have one commissioner that's appointed by us among the 3. He is now chairman, which means we're kind of driving the bus, and we have been working with them, with our engineers, to hopefully get things to the point where we're going to definitely see an even better quality of our water, and hopefully be able to maintain the cost. But once again, you know, that's up to South Sangamon Water Commission, but we are working with them very closely. Now, as far as the streets, as I mentioned earlier, you know, basically we're being told it's going to be $28 million to get our roads where they should be. I don't think we're going to see money in that amount dropping from the state or the federal government, but there are ways we can make our roads last a little bit longer. There are grants out there, and in fact, I have applied for some of the grants on behalf of the village, basically saving some of the costs that would have cost us as far as having the our engineers do. And then the other is the sidewalks. And I know when I first got on the board, I pushed to basically create a ad hoc committee dealing with our sidewalks, making sure they're ADA accessible. Thank you.
Again, going third year is a little tough because I do too believe that infrastructure is an issue here. No, I think our roadways, obviously if anybody came to the comprehensive plan review last night here at the library, you read that the streets and roadways are the #1 concern from the village members. Obviously we need to find a way to work with our tax funds to improve our roadways, again, like we are doing on Park Street right now. That project's going to start soon. As Terry mentioned, sidewalks is obviously important to me. I live in the Willows, so when we want to walk towards JC Park, getting there is a bit of a challenge. I want to see those sidewalks improved so that our kids and our citizen members can walk safely. One thing that has been a bit of a hot topic lately was the garbage hauling discussion. And I think that took off on social media, but I really want to focus on why that started. That conversation started because we do have an infrastructure issue with our roadways, and with those garbage trucks, 4 different companies hauling the multiple trucks per week, that's putting a strain on the roadway. So one of the things that I appreciate about the board is that we're willing to take on those difficult, unpopular, questions, and how do we think creatively to get through these problems. And that's one thing that I'm proud of is being a part of those conversations. Again, if we weren't making any decisions, we were gathering information so that we could spend our tax monies more wisely. Thank you.
All right, I just want you guys to know that none of us talked beforehand. You can probably guess what I'm going to say here. And I have spent a lot of time thinking about this because this is true. Aside from the ongoing water problem, I do believe in infrastructure is our largest issue right now. I have heard about the older sewer mains. That's something that we have to think about working on and working with Public Works Department to replace our sewer system. And, we also have the deteriorating streets and the sidewalks, and we need to update those to make sure they're ADA compliant. And, with the capital bill passing through, being discussed in the State House, we need to prepare for growth in Chatham because it is happening. So there are some things in the future that we're going to have to prepare for and figure out how we're going to make adjustments through the water department and the electrical grid. And those are the when you think about growth, we have to accommodate our people. So infrastructure is something that we can work on, and that's what I believe our biggest issue is right now.
The next question is regarding contracts. This is for the village. How do you feel about negotiated union contracts for village employees? And if you support them as a trustee, do you think you should be involved? How do you feel about negotiated union contracts for employees, village employees? And if you support that as a trustee, do you think you should be involved?
I believe that unions are a backbone of our society. They protect our workers, and I do believe that overall, when we hire unions, we are not just supporting unions, we are supporting the people. And I, of course, believe it's safer work. You know, we do need to support union workers, and I would fully agree with bringing in union labor.
Thank you. Yes, there are some union contracts within the Village of Chatham, and yes, the Village Board does interact and involve themselves, and we help to make sure that the contracts obviously support our citizens and our workers and our employees and look out for their best interests, but also we need to make sure that those contracts are fiscally responsible, and we have a long-term way to support those contracts, and we don't end up in a situation like our state might be where we're having to borrow money from one fund to support pensions and other things like that. So we are currently working on union contracts, and I'm proud to be a member of the board that's doing that, and I wish that continued.
First of all, I am going to kind of keep my comments somewhat short because we do have an ongoing contract that is being worked on, so I do need to be careful on how I do speak. But first of all of our employees for the village, they are great, whether it's the guys who are out there at midnight taking care of a water main burst, or all of a sudden our electric guys out there at 2 a.m. taking care of a fallen line, or even our police officers. All of our employees are great people to work with, but as Dewey mentioned, we are the stewards of the taxpayer dollars, so we do have to take a look at how these contracts are put together, what the effect is going to be long term, so that all of a sudden we get to a point where all of a sudden we just can't afford to live in the village. But we also want to make sure we are fair to the employees. And like I said, I do believe as a trustee, and since we are talking tax dollars, we do need to be involved with it to make sure we are fiscally responsible for that.
Thank you. And I would have to agree that union contracts are important in Chatham, and of course, as has been said, we do have contracts with various unions throughout Chatham. But I also believe that we need to make sure they're fiscally responsible, make sure that those tax dollars are being spent in the best way that they can be when it comes to contracts. And also like Dewey had said, just making sure that we don't run into a situation like the state could have where we have to borrow money from somewhere to make sure we pay that off. And and like Terry had said, we've got a lot of great workers in Chatham that work for our community. Whether they be union, non-union, all our employees are great. And they work hard, they do their job, and they make sure that they're doing the best they can for Chatham and the best for all of our residents, whether it be from the streets to the administration, whatever it may be, but they all work hard and they all do a great job. So, thank you.
This is a similar related question, but it's not obviously the same. This is for the school board. How do you think the recent negotiations with teachers went? What do you think should have been handled differently? And what do you think are going to be the biggest obstacles in the next negotiation with the non-certified personnel?
So I negotiate contracts for a living. That's my day job. Last Friday, I spent the entire morning sitting at a big table with a bunch of people going over a multi-million-dollar agreement. I've got a follow-up call on that agreement tomorrow. We're working toward finalizing it. I don't understand. I don't know all the issues. I don't know the back and forth of what happened with the recent teachers contract that was approved last night at the board meeting. I'm very thankful that that was resolved. I don't know which side was responsible for the length of those negotiations. I don't know what was involved because it's a black box as far as from my perspective. But what I can tell you is that, and it depends on who you ask here, but
delaying that contract or not finishing up, taking almost a year or longer, it's not acceptable. I mean, I represent businesses, and my experience in just investing in general is that businesses, my clients, abhor uncertainty. Markets abhor uncertainty. When you have a lengthy contract negotiation, it presents a lot of uncertainty. And that's uncertainty for people who are working for a paycheck, for families, and for the district. I mean, it makes the district look bad when you've got a negotiation that's being dragged out. So again, I don't know. I will work very hard to make sure that future contracts don't get dragged out like that. Because again, I do it for a living, and I know what it takes to help clients and the opposing side get to yes. And it shouldn't take significant months or over a year to get that done. So I look forward to working on such things if I'm elected. Thanks.
I know that the contract was lengthy. Contracts do take a while. It's called a negotiation. One side wants something, the other side can give only so much. You have to come in the middle. There's a lot of things that go on behind closed doors. That's why they're closed door sessions. I'm not privy to that information. There's a lot of people here that aren't privy to that information. There's nobody to point fingers at. The contract was approved. It was approved by both sides. Both felt it was comparable to and satisfactory to each person. The paraprofessionals, I believe, are the next contract coming up. I would hope that we would negotiate quickly to get it resolved. Working for the state for as many years as I did, we've had contracts that drug on forever. It causes a lot of dissension and a lot of people upset. Nobody knows what's going to happen. They're worried about their contract. They're worried about the union getting broken. Those are things that need to be resolved up front so that everybody feels comfortable when they're doing the contract negotiations. With that being said, my goal would be to try to work with each party and figure out what the best negotiating tool would be.
Excuse me, the BCA sent the initial request to bargain in January, and I think it was May when we got the first response back from the superintendent. So that will hopefully give you an idea about really what was going on during that time. Also, while when the superintendent was hired, there was a recommendation, or at least the article in the paper said that we hired him because he had just settled 2 contracts. And I will tell you that in the 3 contracts that I dealt with him, that 2 of them resulted in litigation, and the 3rd one, this last year, the only time that superintendent was actually involved while I was at the bargaining table was he asked us if we wanted water one night when he was leaving his office. He wasn't he wasn't there. I mean, and the board members can tell you that. You know, I don't know why it was that they decided not to have him there, but he wasn't there. That's problematic. In the 30 whatever years that I worked for IEA, I didn't incur that before. You know, superintendents were actually there. Superintendents were at the table. They were in communication with us. That wasn't the case here. And that's part of the reason why it took as long as it did. You know, and I was only with them for the first 6 months of that bargain. Because I stopped at the end of November when I was going to when the filing period came up for filing for board. So hopefully the negotiations will go better with the support staff, and that contract can be achieved quickly.
So last night at the board meeting, the contract was finalized, and I'm glad that it was. And could it have taken a shorter amount of time? Yes, I guess it could have. But in the end, it actually worked out as exactly like it's supposed to. The unions were advocating for their constituents. The board was weighing different things and doing what they think is best, when it comes to the finite number of resources. At the end of the day, excuse me, at the end of the day, we have a contract for the next 3+ years. So I think it worked out fine. The length of time, I'm also involved in negotiating contracts and settlements, and it's not uncommon for negotiations and contracts to take that long to hammer out, unfortunately. But I think part of the problem was transparency. I think there was a lot of rumors about what was going on in the negotiations that may or may not have been true, and leading to people getting potentially, fired up about things that may not actually have been issues, and it could have drawn out the negotiation longer than it has to be. So I think that going back to the transparency issue, I think that would have helped. And I also think that in the end, we may have a better product at the end of the year than we would have had after 2 months. So I'm trying to stay positive on that, but I think adding some transparency to the negotiations, basing decisions on fact instead of rumor, will help things. In terms of the support staff contract coming up, we would just have to see what they're asking for. I think you see what one side asks for, the other side sits down. We have reasonable discussions and negotiations, and we come to an optimal solution. I mean, that's how negotiations work.
So I was in the negotiating room for however long, 10, 11, 12 months. There are 2 unions. One is the teachers union, one is for the BCESPA. Some call them support staff. But there are 2 unions. The teachers one just got approved last night. There were a lot of rumors out there on Facebook. The board chose to stay silent. Our thought process was 2 wrongs don't make a right. I think that hurt us to stay quiet. I'll give you an example. The union leadership emailed the membership factually incorrect information. Okay, sometimes that draws things out. I'm going to stop there. But you see what's happening here? We're sitting here bringing up old things. It's done. It got done last night. Whether we should have spoken up more or whether we should have stayed quiet or what the union should have done, to me is immaterial, because what's happening is it's becoming about the adults when it's really about the kids. And we got to make it about the kids. And where I work, my company has a saying. It's not about who is right, it's about what is right. And that's what I intend to do. Thank you.
So with that, we're actually going to start our final comments. So if each candidate wants to stand up, I think what I'm going to do is start with Mr. Berry and have you just give us your final 2 minutes, and we'll go this way. That way we're not starting with the same people again. So if you would just give us 2 minutes briefly what you think after this kind of summarizes your candidacy, that would be awesome.
Thank you. And thanks everyone for coming. Thanks to the Chamber again for hosting and the library. My name is Kyle Berry. As I said earlier, I've got 4 kids in the district, and I guess I agree with Duane that it should be about primarily about the kids. That's the goal here. And I have a vested interest in this district because of my kids and of course their friends. We talked earlier about volunteering with the schools, but I wanted to say that I do some additional volunteering. For the last couple of years, I've coached my son's baseball, or helped coach my son's baseball team. He played for the Chatham, Illinois Rebels, which involved a lot of, Central Illinois Rebels, involved a lot of Chatham kids. One of the real privileges and honors of my life was to be able to take my dad, who's a Vietnam veteran. He served in Vietnam for 2 years. I was able to take him on an honor flight a couple of years ago through the Land of Lincoln honor flight program. It's a really special program, and that was
again, privileged to be able to honor not just my dad, but a plane full of other veterans. And I don't get to do as much with that organization currently, but and hopefully I can do more. I really am running for the school board because, I mean, again, my kids, I want to see them get the best education possible, but I also want to serve as an independent voice on the board. I go to these board meetings, I read the minutes, and most of the decisions appear to be done without a lot of dissent, without a lot of discussion, at least at the public side of things. I'm sure there's other discussion behind the doors, but I want to provide a fresh perspective. I want to provide a fresh voice, a fresh view to the board, and I hope you'll all consider that when you cast a ballot on April 2nd. Thanks.
I'm Steve Bryant. I'm running for school board. I'd like to thank everybody for being here tonight and everybody that's videoing it and live streaming it. Thank you very much. And Commerce for the library for having us. My thoughts are, I was in the union before, I was in management before. Contracts do take a long time. And Dwayne is correct, it is for the kids. Everything we do, the school board is about the children, and that's what we need to focus on, is the learning abilities of the children and ensuring that we have a quality education. I have a 6th grader now that's going to go through the school and finish up. I've had a child go through the school. The quality of education is exceptional. My son received a full scholarship to a private university because of the excellent teaching that he received here. Went on to become an engineer, open his own company, and moved on. I'd like to see the quality of education continue. We need to retain the quality educators and basically make sure that we strive for the excellence in the community.
I'm running because in the past there have been some well-intended but gullible folks who have been board members. And one of the conversations I had last February was with one of those gullible board members who said, well, with Doug up there and with having a little money, we ought to be able to get this resolved pretty quickly. And then it took 13 months. It's that kind of stuff, and it's going, wait a minute, so if you elect me, you won't have that kind of person on the board that is gullible. Because I'll know what questions to ask and what to ask and hold everybody accountable. That's what it is I'm running. It's because of knowing that Chatham has had an outstanding reputation and just excellent teachers. I want to be able to continue to attract teachers here because I know a lot of them who actually live here but who will not apply to work here. That's a concern to me. I want to change it. Thanks.
First of all, I want to thank the Chamber and the Library for hosting this event. I want to thank the audience members for taking time out of their busy schedules to attend tonight. And I want to thank my fellow candidates for running. Recently, the teachers had what they called a grade-in, where they had different stations set up through Chatham where you could go and show your support for the teachers. I've known some of the teachers throughout the years from my son being in the school system, but had not met a whole lot of them. So my son and I went around, we hit up all those stations. We met a lot of great teachers. Now, likewise, I've been going to PTO meetings to kind of educate myself on what the PTO does, the services they provide, the support they provide to schools and teachers. And I have met some really great parents that are doing awesome things that if I wasn't running, I wouldn't have been aware of. And I've also met some great parents at school board meetings that get up and speak before the board. They advocate very strongly for their children. They want their education to be priority number one, just like I do. These new relationships and experience have energized me and made me want to work even harder to earn your vote. This also made me realize we have a great school system. While there's always room for improvement, all you have to do is look around at all the construction going on in this school school system, and you realize that this still is a place where people want to come and raise their kids and send their kids to our schools. I think we need someone on the board with a positive outlook, with a fresh perspective, that can build consensus and relationships, not serve as a barrier. And so, if you vote for me, you can trust that I will advocate for all students as strongly as I advocate for my own. Because as they say, a rising tide lifts all ships. Thank you, and I appreciate your vote on April 2nd.
Just to show you how nimble you gotta be in today's new age, this is being streamed live and my daughter is texting me how she thinks it's going. Hi, Maddie.
She's biased.
So I had a pre-written closing. I've learned what real work and honesty looks like. From my upbringing on the farm, I listen to clients daily in my financial advisor job. We were in a ditch before, and where we've come from 2011 to today is mind-boggling. I haven't gone through the litany of things that I'm proud that we fixed, but you can like and share my Facebook page, if a lot of it's on there. So I'd say that I'm proud of our schools here. I'm proud of our teachers. The teachers know I'm proud of them. I'm also proud of what we've done, or I've done on the school board, and I'm glad to stay on and continue if that's what's in the cards. If I'm not reelected, that's okay too. I'm still going to help out. Although I will miss the non-existent salary. Just know, and I said it in my opening, that with me there are no ulterior motives, no axes to grind, no hope for personal gain. I just want our community to be the best, pure and simple. So thanks for everyone.
In closing, as I said before, my family's lived in Chatham for 120 years. And you know, it's home. So that's why I'm running for re-election for a third term to the village board. I want to continue to be that voice of accountability and reason and fiscal responsibility. I'm not afraid to ask the tough questions. I don't care if I upset people, you know, whether it be in the administration or on the board. I'm going to ask the questions to get the answers that we need to make the best decisions out there. And you know, if I'm reelected, I will continue to do that and make sure that, you know, voices are being heard. And you know, you can call or reach me anytime by email, I'm on Facebook. Call me. I'm available anytime. So I do ask for your vote on April 2nd. Thank you.
Once again, thank you guys for attending and for the chamber for hosting it and for the library providing a place to come. I do suggest that you do pick up my brochure there along with some of the other candidates to find out a little bit more in case we haven't gotten to your house yet. There's a lot of houses in Chatham. I think my experience with the community, both on the volunteer side and serving the village, either planning commission or as trustee, speaks for itself as a professional engineer. One of the things I also believe that with the current board, with this last election, I do believe we are moving the village forward and definitely in a positive direction. Unfortunately, in the past there were some negative things going on, but I believe we are moving forward in a positive direction. As an engineer, it's my nature to kind of remain calm and look at things, ask those questions. Sometimes those questions aren't asked maybe at the board meeting, but that may be where I will end up giving maybe Pat a call to get some clarification on an issue that may be coming up. Also, I believe we need to make sure we're using our resources in a safe and efficient manner. I know there was a mention of the waste hauler. Well, there's more to that. Part of it's dealing with the branch and leaf pickup. I think that discussion is going to continue. Where that discussion will eventually go, I'm not sure. But if it is something that does move forward, where also we look at a private firm doing it, or whether we have our own employees doing it. If we have our own employees doing it, then we need to make sure they've got the proper equipment so that they are doing it safely and efficiently.
Again, thanks everybody for coming. Dewey Detmers, running for village trustee. Again, as I mentioned, I'm a father of 4. They are 8, 6, 3, and 1. So I tend to stay up very late at night, and I'm up early in the morning. And during those times, a lot goes through your mind, but you wonder, what kind of a person are you? What kind of a father are you? What kind of a parent are you? And when I think about those things, I think, well, I'm a guy that's gonna put my money where my mouth is. I'm gonna roll up my sleeves, I'm gonna get out there, I'm gonna do what I want my children to do, and I want them to make sure that they see me doing it. And that means a lot to me, and I hope that they see that. So here I am. I've been volunteering in the Village of Chatham for a long time. Many of my friends are pushing me and nudging me to be on the board. I was appointed in September, so I've been doing it for 6 months. And I want them to know that if they want to change the world, they need to start local.
Well, I wanted to thank the Chamber again and all of you for attending. It's very important that you know who is running to represent you. I believe, as the only woman running, that I can bring a fresh perspective to this board. I also think it's time to think outside of the box a little bit and realize that some of the old ways of doing things don't always work anymore. It's time to engage the people and respond to needs, and when we do that, then you have a board you trust to do the right thing. And I promise, if you elect me, I will do the right thing, and I will hold your interests close to my heart, in my heart, because I love Chatham. And please vote for me on April the 2nd.
Thank you again, everybody, for coming. We do still have a couple of refreshments over here if you're interested, and I believe that candidates will be available for independent conversations if you'd like. So thank you.